That's like a half clap. Here we go. Ready, and all right. Welcome to episode 221. Shay from Dan and Shay, which we had your partner in. It's probably been a year or so ago.
Yeah, man.
And even for him, it was kind of weird coming in alone.
Yeah.
But my whole goal with these is to actually let people hear individuals.
Yeah, this is probably trouble for me. They won't like our band after this.
I don't think that's the case. I think people are going to like the band more after this.
I hope so.
Do you find, and again, here's the weird thing for me interviewing somebody that I kind of know.
Yeah.
Is that there are things that I know that I would never ask, and there are things that I've always wanted to ask in a personal space. It's never, you're just with a buddy and you just don't ask questions. You know, like,
for sure.
Tell me about being 7. You know, that just never comes up when we're somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited to have you over. And also, I got to prank you outside of my house.
You did. I got here. I was a little bit scared, I'm not going to lie, because I didn't know what your house looked like. I know when did you move? Did you move?
Year and a half or so.
Like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that. But I was just going to ask.
Okay.
But I didn't know what your house looked like. So I pulled up, and I was like, I was going to text you, but I was like, I don't want to be outside of like someone random's house, and I didn't want to like not park. So I get out, and I ring the doorbell, and what I thought was an old woman answered.
Hello, who's out there?
Hello?
That's what I did. Hello?
Scared me. I was like, I'm scaring this woman because it had a camera, and she's out there being like, oh, they're finally here.
And I saw your face, and I was like, oh, he's thinking this is real.
Yeah, I was a little scared.
I was like, who is it? And you went, Shay? Who? Shay who? Shay Mooney? I don't have any money.
Oh,
and about that time, Mike D
can't
opened
believe
the
you.
door.
I was scared that I was going to open up to like, someone prepared. Because this house is very much of like a fortress. And I was like, this is someone
safe.
that's, loaded.
And stop it.
I meant loaded as in like
Now,
they got a gun.
Do you want to? Speaking of loaded, this puts me on a good question.
Okay.
I Googled, because I always think it's fun to Google how much people are worth. And it says that you're worth $500,000. Now, I'm not going to ask you how much you're worth because I would never do that. I would never do that. However, it's got to be more than that at this point. Especially by right, because it's got to be
like, oh yeah, it's a lot more.
like a little bit. A little bit. I was offended for you. I was like, the guy's written. Their shows are mine. Everything about you guys.
See, I've set up the way my bank accounts are set up. I got a checkings and savings.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to track.
But over, right?
We're getting right into it.
I wasn't going to, but you came up and you're like, your house is a fortress. You're so loaded.
I meant loaded as in like,
okay, Then I'll punt from that question.
Well, like maybe it might be over that, but I got a kid and getting ready for a second, so I'm.
And I'll also say this about you: you didn't grow up loaded.
No.
So it's not like this. Whatever you have, $50 or what I've heard is $500 million. Whatever it is.
Well, I don't want to say anything, but it's close to that. It's close to that. If that's going to be the rumor, I'll go up to 500.
That you've earned it is my point.
Yeah.
That you have.
Likewise, which is,
Whenever I think about you guys, and I see you now, and you guys are, I was nervous, and I'll come back to this in a second. I wasn't nervous for you when you announced an arena tour before it goes on sale because it was your first time to do an arena tour.
Yeah.
And just as someone who has to put up theaters, and I'm nervous before they go on sale to go, is anybody going to show up? Because I'm doing bigger theaters this time.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, they're putting up arenas. I sure hope it sells like crazy. And as I'm thinking that, I also go, man, I remember when those two dudes were just two dudes doing karaoke with Nada. They had their first song.
Yeah.
I was hassling them on the radio, and you were struggling.
Yeah, man.
And that's so cool to see, and even myself to feel for you going, I'm so nervous for them as you're about to sell out arenas. Like
Dude, it's crazy, man.
It's
That's
so crazy
honestly
to see the growth.
I think that's, people ask, do you get nervous for anything anymore? And honestly, I don't get nervous performing, playing shows, as I'm sure you don't really get necessarily nervous. It's more of an exciting, your heart kind of starts to race a little bit. You're excited about it, but that's probably the most nervous that you get as an artist is putting on a tour because you just never know. Selling tickets is different than getting hit songs. It really is. I mean, it's kind of that, we've been trying to build this grassroots thing for a while. We've been headlining for a long time of doing small shows, and then our last tour did well, but even before that tour, I was nervous because it's like you just don't know.
Tuesday and Wednesday night shows. Like you guys were the guys that were grinding doing weeknight shows, and everyone else is doing what the normal Nashville thing is, do Friday, Saturday, some Thursday. But you guys were grassrooting it early. Which again, I admire so much. I just admire hustle and grit with talent. And so whenever you put an arena, and I saw you guys announced it, the arena tour comes out, and I'm like, man, first of all, I was proud because you guys have graduated to that level.
Yeah.
But then I'm going, please, God, I hope it sells like crazy because I know just in my little world of doing comedy, when I'm putting up a bigger theater, I'm like, I hope people like me. I hope they like me more than they used to.
Yeah. As much as you were nervous, like just imagine, I was about 30 times as nervous as I can imagine that you were for us. Because it's like, man, even like the biggest room we did on the last tour was about, I think like 8,200 tickets, and that's like, we've done like a couple dates where, we've got up there a little bit in the last couple years, but that's like jumping from even 8 to like 18 is just, that's a lot.
And a lot of those 18 rooms.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just hoping for one. I was like, just, God, please let us sell out just one. Because that's like, and we were starting in Nashville too. And I remember where I was. I was back home in Arkansas, and I can't remember why I was in, but I was visiting my family. And I remember we had we're about to put on the tour for sale, and it was in the pre-sale. And I was just like, when you're starting in Nashville, that's like starting in your hometown. I mean, that's where we all live now. That's where all of our friends are. So like when you start there, and if you don't sell that out, it's like, well, it's gonna be a long tour. It's gonna be a long tour.
And another wrinkle on the Nashville show is that a home show, there's just a lot of things you have to do that's not a part of a normal show if you were in Milwaukee. Because a home show, you have to entertain so many people that you're close to. And it's the first show where you have all this production you're just learning.
Yeah.
And now you have all these extra people there.
Yeah.
And you're doing freaking Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah. It's like, let's do this in our hometown when we've never done this show ever. And it's going to be luckily it was like, that was the first call that we got. I was so nervous that the tour wasn't going to sell. I mean, we had hoped, that it would do well, but we got the call and they're like, all right, we have to add it. I knew whenever I got the call, they were like, all right, the Nashville show. And I was like, this is about to be either the worst day of my life or like one of the most exciting days. And they said we were going to have to add another show because we sold the tickets.
Crazy.
And I was like,
isn't that so crazy?
Crazy, man. Honestly, like my heart was just like, couldn't believe it. And that was kind of, people ask like, what are those moments where, you feel kind of like, man, this is like a dream come true. I mean, that to me was, playing venues was really more like the Ryman. That was kind of when you look at the biggest bands like that I thought were the biggest bands in the world, like they were playing places like the Ryman. That size of venue was like, they made it. They're like the biggest bands in the world. Bridgestone was never really even on my radar until I moved to town and I realized that was a place that people did shows. And I was like, that would be pretty amazing to do. But that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, this is, that's probably one of the coolest things ever. I mean, it was our first arena to sell out. That's
and you had to add a second one.
Yeah.
Now you didn't just sell it well. You had to. It's like I feel a proudness for you and Dan both because it's just I've just seen because we kind of came in at the same time.
Yeah.
I've seen you go from two guys that they patched together, that you guys patched together, but people are like, I don't know if they're country.
Yeah.
That was your whole rap. Like I don't know if they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that they're the guy can sing okay, but they just didn't know.
For sure. I mean, I saw one of the coolest. Like it was an Instagram message. I think this girl had sent this picture to us, and she was like, I think she had tagged us, and it said, I saw these guys, and it was in 2012, I think, or 2013, like right after we had met, and we were doing this round at Soulshine Pizza that I don't think is there anymore. I think it's something else now in Midtown. And she was like, I saw these guys play around, however long ago in 2013, and now I just bought a ticket to see them at Bridgestone, and it kind of took me back for a second because I was just like, man, this is just as they think it's cool. A lot of times you're so busy with building it that it's hard to look back. And I saw that picture, and immediately in that moment, it was just like, whoa, that's heavy. We were struggling in that moment. We were probably paying for. Honestly, I think the deal we weren't getting paid for the round. It was we got a slice of pizza. Like that was what we were getting paid for.
You got pizza and experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And playing to where people would actually be there to listen.
Yeah. Which they weren't that night. But we did get the pizza, which was pretty awesome. Apparently there was one girl, though, that was there and got to kind of see that, which was a pretty cool moment. I don't know.
I looked up the most Google questions about you. Here you go. Number one is, are you and Shay related? You can answer these. Okay. I'm not going to answer them for you. Okay. But are Dan and Shay related?
We're not. We're not related. Not that I know about.
Okay. Did you 23andMe and make sure?
I haven't yet.
It's
starting to think about it now, though. This would make a lot of sense
for me is when I see you guys. I don't know what award show it was, but you guys still like each other.
Yeah.
To the point of it's not just. I'll compare it to, and I'm not married. You're married now, but a marriage that's been through like 10 years, and this is not you guys, but they're together and they just do it because they've agreed to a partnership. It's like you guys that are that married couple that you look at and go, wow, they still like each other after all this time.
It is, man. It feels like that. And I think it's because it started out from a place of mutual respect. it wasn't just this. It wasn't so much. A lot of times it's this whimsical thing that happens, and you don't even have time to really get to know each other. A lot of times in bands it can happen quickly, and you didn't have the time where you were kind of grinding it out with each other on the road and doing millions of shows together. And Dan and I we had become kind of who we were going to be when we had met. We knew where we were trying to get to, and we just really respected what each other were doing. And man, it's kind of crazy because Dan and I are really complete opposites in most ways. And I think from that, it's kind of like a puzzle piece. It's like he picks up what I can't do. He's an unbelievable producer. He makes me sound good. I can't do any of that. I don't know what I'm doing in the studio. So it's kind of that thing of I trust him, with literally like my life and my well-being, and he trusts me with that as well. And I think it just kind of, it's close. It's like being family, but it's really just I don't know. It's a really cool thing because I do still like him. We are still best friends. It's kind of one of those things of all the time we're always looking at each other being like, I can't believe that this is happening. It's just crazy.
The second one is, who are Shay's parents?
Who are Shay's parents? Rick and Cindy Mooney are their names. Natural Dam, Arkansas. I know probably a lot of people watching from Natural Dam. I think they just got internet, so this is probably going to be a pretty big deal.
You laugh about Natural Dam, Arkansas, but my town, Mountain Pine, Arkansas, we just got a cell phone tower now
Really?
like 19 months ago.
Wow. Now, where is that in as far as like where Little Rock is? Because we're on the, the western side of Arkansas.
Right. So if you go straight down, because I know where you are.
Yeah.
If you go straight down,
Yeah.
Mountain Pine is below Little Rock on the same side of the state about an hour.
Okay.
So left side of the state, straight
Okay.
down.
Is that toward El Dorado or is that the other?
It's the other side.
Other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I went to Fayetteville and I was went to the Razorback game this past week.
Yeah.
And I don't get many weekends where I'm off. And so I went over and I took Adam Hambrick, who's a dear friend of mine. And
I saw that. And you were with Ronnie Brewer, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah, I know Ronnie.
Well, my points were they were asking about you.
Oh, that's cool.
They were like, "Have you seen Shay lately?"
Yeah.
And it's almost like if someone they think we're all like related or hang out.
Yeah, yeah.
That we're all from
Like, I don't know, he's in the
Arkansas.
kitchen. Let me go.
Like, where's Shay been? What's up with Shay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't seen him in probably like a month.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I watch him on Instagram. But it's just funny how when we all come from Arkansas, and afterward, I hung out with a lot of listeners and a lot of people that listen
Yeah.
to the show or watch American Idol. And I probably got asked about you 4 times. They're
That's
like, you
hilarious.
seen Shay lately? They think all us Arkansas boys run together.
We should probably have a meeting.
Yeah, we
of
haven't
our-
had one in at least
Yeah,
a
it's
couple
been a couple months.
ever. Yeah.
The chapter of Arkansas.
Here's one. Does Shay get paid more than Dan?
Yeah, that was in the deal. I was like, look,
If I'm going to sing.
if I'm going to do this, you might do most of the work, but this is how it's going to be.
I assume there's you guys are a
It's
part.
an even split. As far as I know. Maybe he does. I don't know.
One more. Does Dan or Shay sing Speechless?
Well, we both sing. Dan sings harmony. I sing the lead.
But you're the.
Yep.
You're the
But I'm that.
You're that.
That sounded pretty amazing. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Do you want to join?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Can you imagine if I went out and we didn't say anything about it? Just as a joke. We didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
We just walked out and we didn't say anything. I just walked out and it was like, they're like, Dan and Shay. And it's me and we start with Speechless. And
It would totally depend on if someone knew that it was you or not. Because if they didn't and they hadn't seen us before, they'd be like, I had no idea that it was 3 of them.
Then no, you don't come
Didn't
out.
even know.
No,
I don't come out.
No, I put on like a black
That's
wig.
even better.
And I never break character.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
sing
that'd
it
be
as
amazing.
great as I can. And we keep cameras in the crowd to see if people are stunned. We never acknowledge it.
You're solid.
What
Well, I'll tell you,
great-
it's gonna be a pretty great social experiment that will happen.
And I can tell you, no one will get
Yeah.
angry at that. So, okay. Did you watch, Mike, what's the show called you watched? The Mandalorian?
Mandalorian.
I did.
Okay. You're a Star Wars guy, though,
I
right?
am. Yeah.
So I've never seen Star Wars. I would like to because I'm a
Yeah.
nerd in a lot of ways. Did you like the show? And would someone like me who's never seen Star Wars like the show?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Do I need to know Star Wars?
Not at all. I think you can. I think the cool part about the show is that there's, if you read the books or whatever. I wasn't that. I didn't like. I read like some Star Wars books like back in the day, but there's like the whole Mandalorian thing is kind of you wouldn't really know about it even if you were a Star Wars fan. You would probably just think like, oh, that's like Boba Fett, which I guess Jango and Boba Fett they weren't even actually Mandalorian. They just liked their armor, I guess.
So I don't know what you're saying right now.
Yeah, and see the quantum mechanics. We could go all into it. No, I don't really know that, but no, it really doesn't have anything to do with the story of Star Wars that people would know from their kids. It's just it's a really new concept, really, even to a Star Wars fan.
How fast did you take in that show?
Probably because they did it I think they did it every Thursday, like they released an episode a week.
They dropped it a week at a time. Oh, I didn't know that. You couldn't binge it, huh?
And I think I want to say there's eight episodes, and I think I started on 6. Or I started when they had 6 out. So I watched all of them, and then I had to wait for like the next 2 weeks. So I think I watched 6 episodes in like a couple of days.
Did you go watch the last Star Wars movie?
I did.
And your thoughts?
I liked it. It was a lot. They had to kind of button up the whole deal, which was a lot to kind of.
It seemed like the fan reviews were great, but the critic reviews were really not good.
Well, it was kind of, and I love Star Wars. I'm not the movie guy who's like, I don't usually look at the critics' reviews. If like the fan views are pretty good, I will enjoy the movie. Like I like a lot. If I go to a movie, I usually have a pretty good time. Like I enjoy the whole experience of going to watch movies. I've always loved movies as a kid, still love them. But yeah, I enjoyed it as like a movie. It was very entertaining. But it wasn't like, if you were to pick it apart, there was like a lot of things that were just like, oh, so he's just been alive this whole time.
That's not a spoiler,
yeah,
right?
That's not
Chewbacca? That's the one I know.
No, not Chewbacca.
Is he in
like
it?
Senator Palpatine was like, he's like he's the Dark Lord Sith guy. He's like the main bad guy. And he dies in like one of the first movies. Whenever, like with Darth Vader kills him. And then he's just like, these are well, I guess kind of for you, maybe.
But like for someone who hasn't seen the final movie,
no, not the final movie.
Got it. Okay.
This happens in like old, like in the 70s or whatever. Whenever the first movies came out, he dies, and then he doesn't really, and then it's just kind of he's just alive again. Yeah.
Can you go to the movies without people stopping you?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends what theater, like where we are. If I go back home, like, and people would, they kind of know that I'm home, then it can be a little bit of a, like, everybody knows that, I'm there. But people are super sweet,
Nashville,
back home.
Can you go to the movie theater without someone stopping you?
Yeah. I mean, like, usually, like, we'll get stopped a couple times. Especially for some reason, if I'm, like, with Hannah, because people kind of follow her, too, that's more of, like, an indicator. If Dan and I are together, then people really, yeah. But if it's just, like, if I'm just out somewhere, people aren't, like, because people aren't really expecting to see anyone that they would know ever, so they're not like looking around like analyzing like wait a second.
I went to True Food Kitchen today to have lunch, and I was having a work talk with somebody from my PR team where we're kind of lining up some stuff, and Sam Hunt walks in and comes in he's just sitting over there and grabs his food, chill. Sam's a monster.
He's a
huge guy, big beard.
Yeah.
So wave at him, waves back, does his deal. He's there for like 10 minutes. Nobody says a word to him. Walks out, and I'm like, that's interesting. Nobody. BK from Florida Georgia Line walks right in, walks up to a table. I say, what up to him? Hey, what up, dude? Get up. He sits down. Nobody.
Yeah.
He had a hat, did boom. And it was just like seeing, and nobody it was just cool to see nobody mess with anybody.
For sure.
Especially here.
Yeah.
And then I saw Thomas Strutt's manager. So there was just a lot happening.
Yeah.
And nobody, I went to dinner a couple weeks ago at Adele's.
Yeah.
So not a super fancy place, but
cool spot.
Cool spot, close to work. And Reese Witherspoon came in, and it's her and her family. They sat right in the middle. Nobody bothered them.
Yeah,
I just think it's cool. Here.
I would have bothered her probably.
Well, before my rule
did you bother her?
But my rule is you shouldn't bother someone if they're with their kids or they're eating.
Yeah.
If they have food in front of them.
Yeah.
If they're not, they know they're famous.
Yeah.
That's on them. They wanted to get famous. You should go say hi if you want to say hi. Never be ashamed to be a fan of somebody.
Yeah.
But if there's food or a kid involved,
that's a great rule.
Chill.
I think it should be like a written rule. If you're eating or if you're with your kids, and even like it doesn't like bother me insanely if someone comes like, because we'll go out to eat at like there's a Mexican restaurant that's by my house. It's like our favorite spot. We always go there, and usually if I'm with them, like people will wait till like we're done eating, and it's really funny to watch people. Which is like, and I can't like. Do you find yourself like very hyper aware of people? I can hardly like really when we go out and I'm in a place where I just know there's something in like the room that shifts if someone does recognize you. If we're going out with like a nicer restaurant, we're like I have my hair all spiked. I usually just like wear a hat, but if I have like my hair spiked up, it's like a better chance that someone might be like, that guy's hair looks weird, so he might be in Nashville. So it's kind of funny. I'll be watching like around the room, and I can always tell when someone's like kind of just looking over, like I think that might be.
What kind of got me was people would take pictures, and I wouldn't know. I wasn't aware for a while. I'm just like, who cares about me?
And you'd see them later.
But then people would post pictures and then tag me of me like just looking awkward or.
That's the worst.
And I would be like, I would love to take a picture. Say hi.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look, mostly for my sake, so I don't look stupid on your Instagram. Like, come say hi to me. I would love to take a picture with you.
Because I love being out when people come up and they say something. Like, I love that. People are like you said, this is something that we got into. It's not like I'm just like hungry for the attention, but like I want them to like, if they're there and they're a fan, like I'd love to meet them.
And feel appreciated.
We
don't get to do what we do without people that listen 100%. To your music or come to shows.
Yeah, but people that like, they hide it. Like this happened actually recently at that same Mexican restaurant that I'm talking about. And it kind of, and I knew like the table, there was like 2 tables around us, and they were super sweet. We're like, hey, just like love your music. So dude, thank you so much. We're there for probably like 20 minutes, and we're eating, and I kind of noticed this lady at the bar, and she was just, it was all over her face. It was like all she was thinking about was like, when is a good time to like go over there? And I wanted to like look, I didn't, because you don't want to assume and be like,
oh, I've done
hey,
that. And
why don't you come over? And she's like, no, my husband's here with someone else. I'm just spying on them. It's fine. I don't know why that was the example. That wasn't what was happening with this lady. But I watch her, and all the tables and our friends that were with us watch all of this go down, because she gets up and she walks all the way to the bathroom. And what feels like a half a mile of her walking, she has her phone like this.
Holding
like people
chest.
Just like she's texting.
Yeah.
But it's like right up against her chest. And I'm just like, we all see you. And I kind of like point at the camera. Just kind of like jokingly, like we get it.
Yeah.
And I thought like for sure she'd get in the bathroom, look at it, and be like, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed, and come over and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like film you. She comes back, and like everybody around the table is like, that woman was like filming you, right? And I was like, no, I saw. Then she comes back and does the same thing the whole way back, dude.
Just films you all the way back.
The film's all the way back. Never comes over, never says anything. And that's the weirdest to me.
And let's make a statement here together.
Yeah.
Because I try to say it a lot. I would love to take a picture with you.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not eating it with my kids that no one knows about, my secret kids.
Yeah.
Like
Ben.
Yes.
John. Kevin.
It's a compliment to me.
Yeah.
But you're right. Sometimes when someone's holding their phone and they're holding it just a little too pointy, you're like,
it's like we know.
Yeah, I know.
We know.
I would love to take a picture.
Like you don't text like this.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain way you hold the phone, and that's for sure not it.
So Natural Dam was how many people?
511.
Wow, good for you. I'm 700. Mountain Pine 700.
Solid. Oh, you guys are
we're big
doing
city.
well,
yeah, we're
dude.
a big city.
I honestly don't think, like it says 511, but that's been there since I've been a kid, and I know for a fact that there can't be, unless there are people that are literally living underground. I've never seen 500 people there. Maybe 200.
So
never seen them.
In Natural Dam, what school did you go to?
I had to go. So for a while, I went to a school in Fort Smith.
Union Christian Academy?
And it was River Valley at the time. So I had to drive. It took like 50 minutes to get to school, because there was Cedarville High School, and nothing against Cedarville, but at the time it was just like, it just wasn't a great place to go to school. And it was just kind of, there was a lot of just stuff going on there. My parents were just like, yeah, we don't think that that's necessarily where we're going to send our kids. But now it's gotten a lot better. Now there's a lot of great schools kind of around there. But I ended up graduating from Van Buren High School, which was like probably 20 minutes from Natural Dam, so it wasn't bad. But growing up, that was a long drive. And I homeschooled till I was like fifth grade.
What kid were you in high school? What were you known as? Shay were you the singer? Were you the...
Yeah. I think, a little bit.
The trait that people knew most about you was what?
Probably, honestly, more that I was kind of like the funny guy, I would say, because I didn't like sing a ton. I did, like, I was definitely kind of known for that, but I was definitely the class clown, I would say. But yeah, I did sing at like events, like randomly. I would do like, we had chapel. It was a Christian school, so I would sing in chapel.
Would it shock
like
people that you were so good because you didn't do it all the time?
Yeah, sometimes. I remember when I came to school, because I started like halfway through 5th grade. And so I remember they asked me to sing at chapel. And that was like my first, I had sang in church and like, done that whole thing. But that was like my first like real world at school. It was like halfway through the year, and I came in, sang at chapel. It's my moment. Felt really good.
At what age did you go, oh, I'm not just good for here in a small town. I'm actually good enough to go and try something outside of what I'm accustomed to?
Yeah. Man, honestly, I was 8 years old when we first started coming to Nashville. because we would make these little trips because I would sing with my sisters. I have 2 older sisters. Erica's the oldest, and then Gabby. And we would sing. We would travel around and like, just kind of for fun. We'd go to churches and do the whole deal. And when I was about 8, we came to Nashville. And at that point, I kind of told my dad, like, this is like what I want to do. That was just like, I didn't know that I was like, I think people a lot of times like kind of assume that I was like this, I don't want to say like prodigy, but like was like always insanely good at singing and was just like, that wasn't necessarily the case. Everyone in my family did it. And I think just for the sheer fact that I was young, people would be like, oh, he's really good. But we were in this was small towns. So it's kind of like, I would take it as a grain of salt. And I think my parents would too. Like they knew I was, pretty good, but I don't know that it was, oh, this is going to be your career kind of thing. That kind of came honestly later. And I did it, I was coming to Nashville since I was 8, but I never knew, there wasn't a ton of people that were just like, this is undeniable. Like they knew that I was good, but it wasn't until I was a little bit older where we had a couple people be like, oh, you guys could do this. But it was never, I don't know.
You go to college for a year, right?
Yeah.
And then you I need to go do music.
Yeah.
What was the point in going to school where it clicked? Where I was like, it's going to be tough, but I got to get out of school. And
it wasn't actually a school. It was actually a ministry school. So I went there. It was like a 9-month program. And I had a full ride to go to like a music school, and I decided right before, because my sister Gabby had decided she was going to go up to Pittsburgh to go to this like 9-month program, and I was just like, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to do this. And it was kind of that I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with my life. I was about to graduate, and I didn't want to go to school for something that I already felt like I didn't think I was going to like learn. And if I was going for like engineering or something like that, which is probably what I would have done, I didn't want to go to school for like a performance major, and like learn how to sing. I just felt like that wasn't really the vibe. And so, yeah, I kind of took that 9 months and lived in Pittsburgh. And then right after that, I moved back home, which is when kind of the whole T-Pain thing happened.
Which is an interesting thing too, because when you can really sing, you can also kind of pick where you sing.
Yeah.
And even I give Garth as an example. He was singing rock songs.
Yeah.
He was, he was kind of finding his place early. Yeah. So how do you get discovered by? Because what was it called? What was T-Pain? Was it called Nappy Boy?
Nappy Boy.
How do you get hooked up with them? How do they see you? What are the steps that led you to go there?
Yeah.
Did you move to Atlanta for a while?
I did move to Atlanta. So I'd lived in Pittsburgh, and my sister she had this. She was super good. She a good dancer. Like she was a choreographer and did all this stuff. And she had met this guy named Mike, who was actually a backup dancer for T-Pain. And so we kind of all were hanging out there for a little while. And long story short, we get back to Arkansas after the school after the 9 months, and we're there. And I just randomly get like a text was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I knew he had worked with T-Pain, and I guess he had sent some YouTube video of mine to T-Pain, and I was at Van Buren actually, and I was in a movie. I'll never forget this. And he was like, "Hey, like he wants to like FaceTime you or whatever." And I was just like, I was in this movie and I didn't have any service, and I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. So I go out of the movie, and my friend was like one of the managers
watching
there.
a movie.
Was watching a movie.
Didn't you think he was like filming a movie?
Yeah.
I thought he was like doing sling. I thought he was doing like Sling Blade in Arkansas.
You might have heard of this movie. It's called Hot Rod. It was like this little project I was working on.
So you leave the theater.
Yeah, so I leave it. So I walk outside, and I didn't have any Wi-Fi, and the service wasn't good enough. So I had to get on Wi-Fi. I think it was a FaceTime call. I can't remember if that was even a thing then, but either way, I didn't have any service. I had to like go get on the Wi-Fi. So my friend was the manager there and like gave me the Wi-Fi password. And I'm in like this back room at the movie theater, like FaceTiming or whatever, T-Pain. And he was like, "Hey, I want you to come to Memphis. Like we're playing a show there. It was him and Chris Brown. I want you to come, play with us and do this whole deal." So I was just like, "Yeah, all right, let's do it."
What does "do this whole deal" mean?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
To this day, I don't know what that meant. Those moments like you get the call and you're just like, yeah, whatever it is, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm in. That got me into a lot of trouble probably at some points in my life. Like whatever that is, I'm doing it.
So do you go to Memphis?
I did. I went to Memphis.
Do you drive by yourself? Because again, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
so
I took an Uber there. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Uber actually was not a thing then, I guess. But my sister, Gabby, she drove me up there. So I drove up there with her. We went to the show and met with him and basically go on the bus afterwards. And I think it was like T-Pain and his wife and Mike and all these people. And I'm just like, singing, and just he was like, I want to sign you, and I didn't know what that. I just heard, I'm going to sign you. I didn't know what that entailed at the time or what that even looked like, but yeah, they ended up, because I was writing even when I was with him. When I ended up signing to him, I moved to Roswell, Georgia, which is out there, just a suburb of Atlanta, and I started writing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I had been writing like country, and I had been writing pop. I've been writing like R&B, like all this kind of stuff. But I knew that I wanted to do country, and that's kind of how the song that he had even heard me covering, I think was a country song. And so he was like, this is what I want you to do. This is blah, blah. And basically what I did for that year and a half that I lived in Atlanta was just go into the studio every day till like 5 a.m. and just like write to beats and everything else. And it was just kind of I don't know, it's kind of one of those just kind of honing my craft moments of like I didn't really get anywhere. Like we didn't release any music or anything like that.
What was his goal with you?
I don't know. I'm not sure. The overall goal, that was kind of like pitched to me was we want to sign you to a major. We want to get you to Nashville at some point. But
so they had country music in mind for you.
Yeah.
Even though it was T-Pain.
Yeah.
And we all go, oh, hip hop R&B.
Yeah. And it was kind of one of those things that I didn't even have like my sound. I didn't really know what I was doing either. I was just writing songs. And I had all these, songs that I was writing that wasn't necessarily, I mean, they were like fine, but my identity was not found yet. I just didn't really know what I was doing. So it's kind of somewhere in there. It's hard to put, unless I looked at a timeline, it's hard to put all this stuff into a timeline. But I remember there was a moment when I was there where I was just like, what? We haven't put out any music. We're not doing anything. I have no idea. There was not really, the contract I signed was a 360, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a lawyer at the time, so I signed this ridiculous deal. And I think it was all good intentions on all parties, but I ended up at some point being like, I've got to go to Nashville. Like, I just have to get there. So I had no money because I was getting paid, whatever it was. I think I was getting paid maybe like, it was like $1,500 for $2,000 or $1,500 for like, per month to like live on and stuff. But I was having to pay like $500 for my, my rent in Atlanta. And then I had to pay $500 off the top to like my manager. That was, this guy that had I had met in Pittsburgh. He was now my manager. And so yeah, it was a whole thing. So I had about, after I was moving to Nashville, I was left with about like $400 to like eat, like pay everything on after this and go out and expect to like, try to meet people in Nashville, which $400 in a month is not a lot of spending cash.
How did you get out of the deal?
It ended up, when I met Dan, it was there was a lot of people that kind of helped me get that out of the deal. And, whenever we had met, it became kind of like oh man, what's going to happen? Because this is like a problem. I'm still in this deal.
Are you out of it now?
Yeah. Yeah. But it was, that was a pretty rough little time there for a little while because there was a lot of feelings, feelings hurt on, I think, on all sides. Cause it was just this, I don't know. I don't want to go like too into detail about it, but it was a rough time, I think, in his life. He was going through a lot, and it was just kind of, I was just stuck. There was nobody to like talk to. He had gone away to kind of deal with some personal stuff. And yeah, it was just kind of, all right, well, I'm in this deal and we got to try to figure out, whenever we were talking to these labels, it was like, it kind of became an issue because it rolled really fast. When Dan and I met, and we had kind of met with, Jason Owen and Scooter, and things were kind of rolling. It was just like, well, this is a problem. And I was freaking out because I'm like, this is a huge opportunity, and we finally got something rolling.
Tethered to something.
Yeah.
That you can't get out of.
Yeah. And it was a full 360 deal. It wasn't
which means
like
everything you're doing, they have a piece of. Not just music, but if you put out a shirt.
Yeah.
If
touring. Everything.
All of it.
And it was a rough time, but we ended up, really, Scooter and Jason had a huge part of kind of getting me out of that deal. But yeah, man, it was a tough, start, because it was just, even on that first record, like there was a lot being taken out, and it was just kind of like, thankfully I didn't have, a family at that time, or it's not like I wasn't completely broke whenever we had, Dan and I had met and finally signed. We had like a lot more money than I had,
Right.
to begin with. It was enough to live on, but they did a great job of kind of helping me get out of that, and Warner Brothers and Espo and all those guys. It was, everybody was really good. So
the legend of the fort, which in different places we've talked about, but you guys met in a living room fort.
Yeah.
At a house, which you've been back by. I've even seen you guys post it before.
Yeah.
Dan was living in that house.
Yeah.
And you went over to the house?
I did. So I was living with my buddy actually at the time. I think I was maybe, I don't even remember if I even was paying him, but I was basically sleeping on his couch for like a little while. His name was Brandon Metcalf, great guy. And he had a studio and I was like working a lot with him when I had moved to Nashville and kind of had my place. And there was a guy named Andrew that just one night, we had been writing a lot, and he told me, he was like, man, I'm going over to these guys' house. They had a band at the time. He's like, they're having a house party. You want to come with me? And I was just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And at that time, it was just kind of like, anytime you could go somewhere without spending any money, and you knew that there was we knew that there was a keg there, and I was like,
free entertainment and a little bit of
great.
Nourishment. That's all you're chasing.
That's all I was chasing. It was like, do you think they got like pizza or something? Like, I haven't eaten in like a couple of days. But it was like, yeah, we showed up at this house, and little did I know that night was going to completely change my life.
You guys start talking that night. When was it that you said, okay, we're actually going to try something together, which means putting everything else aside? There's a difference in going, hey, we should do something together, and going, we're doing something together. I would even say it's comparable to in that part of a relationship where you're just dating, and you go, we're only dating each other now.
Yeah.
So that means nothing else can exist except us. What was that point where you guys finally said, we're just dating each other?
Well, it was not until just a couple weeks ago. Yeah. It kind of happened. It happened really naturally where Dan and I started writing. Really, I think it was either that next day or like the day after that we had met. We were jamming till probably like 4 a.m. or something like that. And I think we had decided to write. So we get up the next day and we met at like a Starbucks or something. And then we ended up going to this guy that I was, Jesse Frazier. I'm sure that
he's been on this show. I know him and he's been here before.
Love him.
Yeah.
One of the greatest guys. When I had quick side notes, this all makes sense. Jesse, when I had first moved to town, I had a friend and I asked him, I was like, who is doing like beats? Because I had been writing to a lot of beats. I'd been writing like country songs to beats, which is now like a common thing, but it was just kind of becoming a thing then. And I was like, who is a great track guy in Nashville? And the first name that my friend was Nash Overstreet, which is Paul Overstreet, songwriter. And he was like Jesse Frazier. So I started writing with Jesse a lot. And then whenever Dan and I had met, I was like, let's go write with Jesse Frazier or at his place. So we ended up writing our first writing session. I think we wrote 2 songs that day. And one of them got put on hold that night for Rascal Flatts.
So what, you wrote a song that day.
Yeah.
They sent it out.
Yeah.
Maybe to Flats because they thought it was sensible for them. That night it got put on hold?
I think it was that night. Yeah. Like when we got home, they were like, this is on hold for Flats. And for us, we're like, things are heating up. Wow. Things are really, really good. Which, if you know what a hold is, they never cut the song or anything like that. But for us, it was just like, it was legitimately like Rascal Flatts heard our song. That was a huge, and as small as that, might seem now, in our minds, it was such a big deal. Because it was, you have these big dreams when you're coming to town, and it was kind of that first taste of like, whoa, this is like somebody who has done it, who is a successful artist, they liked our song and put it on hold. So that was a huge deal for us. And that was kind of the fuel to be like, let's keep doing this because we liked, what songs we were writing.
Would you compare that early part of you and Dan, and I don't mean this facetiously at all, but when you meet a girl, like when you and Hannah meet, and you're like, oh my God, this is it. Like it's similar to that feeling with him as it was, because if you're writing till 4 a.m, that's what you do when you talk to a girl till 4 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think for either of us, we just were kind of, it was different than when I met my wife, because when I met Hannah, I literally told my friend Benji Davis, who's a writer in town, I told him like right then, it was in Arkansas. It was like our first date. It was at George's Majestic Lounge. And I like walked her out to her car, and I got back on the bus and I was like, I'm going to marry that girl. Literally said like that night. With Dan, it was like, we were having fun writing these songs. We didn't necessarily we thought they were good, but we didn't necessarily be like, we're going to make, this is it. Oh. We're not going to, or marry each other. And neither one of those were on my mind. And I think it just kind of happened naturally to where like, we thought the songs were good, but as you do, when it's your work, we thought it was good. And we knew, I think the most exciting thing for us was there was an aha moment, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, we're going to be a duo. it was like, this is the kind of music that I've been trying to write. This is all, like, everything has kind of led to this. You know, it was like the stuff that I had been wanting to write, but just hadn't quite found the sound yet.
So are you saying that when you two first started, it was like we found partners in creating more so than we're going to go be a duo?
It was exactly that. It was like, oh man, this is the kind of stuff. It was like better than any of the stuff that I had been writing in town. And I think for both of us, it was just kind of like, whoa, this is like, we got something special here.
So then how long until you decide you're going to actually pursue the artist thing together?
Yeah. So we started to, all these songs we've been writing, because we did start to write a lot together. And so the more that we wrote, we would just start doing like these writers rounds and like playing these songs for our friends. And like our friends and everybody were getting hype on these songs. Like, this is the greatest song. Like we were in 507 Morton Avenue was the place. I can say it because we've said it a million times. I'm sure that the owner of that house hates us for probably talking about it all the time. But it was like, I think we went to the house one time, I specifically remember, and I think it was P. Tracy, who now does all of our video stuff. It was his birthday. And I remember we shot like a fake music video for one of the songs because we thought it was so good. And it was just like, it was just ridiculousness. We were having so much fun. And it was just like, man, this stuff is really cool. So we started to play all the music out, like rounds and stuff. And then Dan and I, we had eventually like, there was actually an opportunity that we had to go down, and I had booked a show. It was just like Shay Mooney. And we were opening up, we did 2 shows together without actually being like a band at all. It was just like, he was there with me and we were playing all the songs we had written. And one was at George's opening for Chris Allen. And I thought I made it then. I was like, this is, things are really starting to take off. And then another one we played was in Conway, at UCA. There was this kid who booked me, and I thought it was going to be like the biggest show ever. And I think it was in their like little performing arts theater, which probably holds like, I don't know, maybe 1,500 people. And there was probably like 15 people in there. And right after that, we went down to Austin, Texas, because my lawyer had set up this like showcase basically for us. And we went down, we put together a band, the whole deal. Dan and I drive down in my truck, and we ended up playing the show. And it was, I'm not kidding, there was honestly probably like 4 people in the room. And one was my lawyer, one was like a bartender girl in the back, and then our friend Paul DiGiovanni, which ended up writing How Not To for us, used to be in the band Boys Like Girls. He was there, and then Dan's lawyer. And there was like no other people there. We rehearsed for like 4 days. And we thought it was going to be like our big break. And it wasn't our big break. But at that time, it was, I think on the way back from that trip, we kind of made the decision of like, we've been doing these shows together. Like we should do a duo. And I think it's hard to kind of put all this in my mind to like line it up. But kind of when we were writing all these songs, there was a guy who worked for Scooter Braun at the time. His name was Nano. And he knew Scooter, and he had kind of been talking to Scooter, I guess, about us. And during that time, Scooter ends up, we were at a writing session, and we had kind of decided, like, all right, we're going to do this duo thing. And once we kind of decided that was when Scooter had heard about us, and we were in a writing session at a guy named Danny Orton's house. And he FaceTimes us and basically says, like, I want to work with you. And Ed Sheeran was there, which is really funny because he was like, will you guys play that song that I like? It was a song called Stop, Drop, and Roll that was actually on our first record. We had like just written it, and he was like, play that song. And so we played it, and at the end, he was like, my friend wants to hear the song because he really loves it, because we had sent him maybe like a demo or something. And Ed Sheeran like pops in, he's like, hey guys, how are you? Which is like the worst Ed Sheeran impression of, hey guys, how are you? And we like sang Stop, Drop, and Roll acoustic like over FaceTime to him. And that was kind of the start of it.
Did you go and play for different labels?
Yeah. I think that at the beginning at first we had pitched, we wanted to, be writers was like the whole point. We wanted to, be signed. We were working with, some guys, and Rohan, who now works with us at Warner, who's our A&R guy. He was kind of working, we were trying to, get all these meetings with publishers and things. And it was really funny. In the very beginning, we were meeting with like everybody, because at this point we still had zero money, like at all coming in. And Dan and I used to we would go out to like a publishing meeting, and we would always we would make them take us to dinner. Like we'd always take the dinner meetings because it was like, that was free food and drink for the night. It was fantastic. So I think we took out a couple people, which now is funny because there's a couple of our now friends in town of like, man, I was a new publisher and you guys I spent like $10,000 on you guys and you didn't sign with us. And I was like, sorry, dude. But yeah, we were meeting with publishers at first, and then kind of when we decided to come together, we met with several labels in town. And
was there ever a bidding war for you?
A little bit. There was like at that time we'd had all these songs that we had written. We had a couple hundred songs that we had, and we were doing all these demos and everything. And we had I think that the demo that we were bringing around to people was like 22 songs that we had on this thing. We're like,
holy crap!
And they would just go in there and be like, all right, just pick a song and play it. And there was kind of at the end there was sort of this little bit of a bidding war, but we met with Warner Brothers, and we had met Espo, and I think it was like 10:30 in the morning, and we went in and we played with them, and they were so passionate about it from the very beginning. And Espo, if you know Espo at all, he's very passionate about music, loves music. And it was like 10:30 in the morning, and he was like, "You guys aren't leaving this room until you sign with us." And so we were like, "Well, this guy's pretty passionate." But that was it was kind of crazy, and it's hard to even like remember all that because it all happened so quickly after that. It's people see it as like, oh, this happened like overnight. If you guys just became an overnight success, but it was really this accumulation of me doing my thing and Dan touring since he was like 13 years old. And it was kind of that moment where it all kind of came to a head, and it was just like, I don't know. I think when we signed, it was 2013 when we put out like our first single like that summer, and we were going on like radio tour, and it was just like it was crazy. It was just a crazy time, and it seems like yesterday. And now that I look back, that was 2013. Now here we are in 2020.
I'm gonna come back to 19 You and Me in 1 second. Okay. But something you said when we were talking about you meeting Hannah and going, "I'm gonna marry her," is that you walked back to your bus.
Yeah.
So were you guys touring through Arkansas when you guys went on your first date?
Yeah. So I had known about her. Like we had a bunch of mutual friends. She was Miss Arkansas. Okay. Yeah. So if you go through Franklin, Arkansas, still a pretty big billboard. It's a pretty big deal. So she's a lot cooler than me. Definitely a lot better looking. But yeah, we were on tour. We were, I want to say it was our first time playing George's, like legitimately, like as a headliner. And that was like our one of our first times playing there. And I was pretty excited about it because we had like, that was the hometown show. And it was, yeah. And we had been talking a little bit. And I basically begged her. Yeah, I think it was like Facebook or Twitter or something. I don't know. But I had invited her to the show, and I know in her mind, now that I've like talked to her, she was like, "This is not gonna happen." 'Cause she was like unimpressed. She was like, "I'm not dating a singer," And I was just like, I was doing everything I could that night. Whenever I was like, I knew kind of like I was looking for her the whole time.
So you were like looking at her section too.
I was looking at her section, yeah. And I was looking, I was smoldering, Now that I know how dumb I look doing that, I wish I wouldn't have done that, but still worked out. But yeah, it was crazy. I was looking for the whole time, being like, all right, I know she's here. And if she wasn't there, I would have been devastated.
Well, and if she wasn't there, that section would have had a great night. They got a lot of you.
Yeah.
That section.
There was probably like a couple people in that section that were like,
42 C's feeling it. Like
he wants me. He wants me.
I'm going to play 19 You and Me. Here's a little bit of this. Watching that This is the first one, right?
It's the first one.
Now, you said a second ago too, and I think a lot of people look at you guys and go, wow, what an overnight success. Everything roses. This song, which did wonderfully for you guys, only hit number 9.
Yeah, it didn't even hit that. It went to 11.
Okay, well, my note says peaked at 9, so one of the charts.
Okay. Well, I think I don't think that it ever peaked. I think it was 11, like on both charts.
And did you feel like when that happened, though, that was huge, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of that. We were stoked. I mean, I remember when Nada told us that, our song was going to be on the radio. I literally blew out the speakers in my Jeep, like listening to that whenever we found that out. It was like the biggest deal. To have a song on the radio and to be like on a radio tour was all like, I can't believe this. It was insane. It felt like hitting the lottery, which really, to do what we do is,
Then you come off with a next song here, and Show You Off comes out.
Yeah.
And doesn't do as well.
No.
Like my note here says peaked at 19.
Yeah. It didn't do good, Bobby.
And my point in saying this is
we haven't played that song in years. Yeah.
So you don't play it anymore?
No. I hope that's not anyone's favorite song.
It was a top 20, but when a song doesn't do as well as your first one, are you starting to like hang your head a little bit?
I think it was all kind of, we were just so stoked to be in it all. I don't think we thought about it too much. Because it's kind of, it would have been worse. Honestly, it would have been worse, I think, if 19 You and Me would have been a number 1, and then we followed it up with a 19. Since it was kind of this like, it still felt like, all right, we still have like our chance to like have the song. And I don't think that any of us, like, it was tempo, but like looking back, neither one of us were like stoked on that song. We were about 19 You and Me, and it's still one of our biggest songs. Because, you know, at that time it had sold, it was like platinum. It was like a big, you know, it sold a bunch. It did really well for us. But we had put it out to radio immediately when we went on radio tour. So by the time we got to the West Coast, the East Coast had been playing it, like they had played it like 1,500 times. So like we didn't feel, we knew it went number one in almost like every market, but didn't, just not all at the same time. So we were like feeling good about that. But when Show You Off kind of, you know, didn't do its thing, we kind of, it was kind of a, you know, like, man, I wish that would have done better. But I don't think that any of us was like super passionate about the song to begin with, so it didn't sting as much. But the third one, that was kind of the pinnacle of, or not the pinnacle, but really the
start of it.
That would have been, if that one didn't go number one, that's when you start to be like, oh, this is.
My connection to Show You Off is that I remember having you guys up in the studio, and because you guys had come in like 3 times so far.
Yeah.
And mostly it was because we knew each other.
Yeah.
More than anything. You guys were really good, but it wasn't because you had a bunch of number ones.
Yeah.
1, you were fun on the air. 2, you were really good on the air, and we had a personal relationship. So it was like you guys were coming in, and we did a bit together where you guys came in and sang Boys to Men songs.
Yeah.
And it goes up on YouTube, and this is how you guys have kind of affected my life from a side part. We put it up on YouTube. Scooter, your manager, is watching you guys on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sees me interviewing you guys, sees us doing our thing, where it's like, I'm not great at being on the radio, but I'm great at doing a good radio show.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, we should do TV work together. So him and I get to know each other and start working on TV projects together, which has, in turn, layer by layer, I've gotten to work on a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Just working, but because your relationship with him and him watching you and seeing me. And so that
I mean, we're fully responsible for your career.
My point
if
is,
you
if it wasn't
at
for
it,
you, bring in the check for Shay. Yes.
Is this the part they said you had something special? Is this what it is?
But that song, Nothing Like You, is the one where or not Nothing Like You, but Show You Off is the one where I was like, oh, that was a big part of my career.
That's so cool.
Because
I think you had said that before, but that's pretty crazy.
Once I was with Scooter in a meeting, and we FaceTimed you guys, and you guys were in a car somewhere together.
I did.
And I was with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't with Ed Sheeran.
I was like, yeah, I totally remember that.
Nothing Like You goes number 1.
Yeah.
And so this is a big one, but I tell you, where it really started to seem like you guys were going next level to me was the build up to From the Ground Up.
Yeah.
Because I started to hear people go, oh, this next song, From the Ground Up, is next level.
Yeah.
Because you had a number 1. And number 1s are hard to get, and good for you and great, and now you're on the path.
Took us 47 weeks to
but
get that number 1.
Did you feel like From the Ground Up was like the first real respect you got from the community of art?
Yes, it was. It was because Nothing Like You was that song where like it was a hit, but it was just kind of that. It wasn't the song that it was just like, oh, Dan and Shay, like this is gonna be it. Like obviously it was a hit. But there's a big difference between like a number 1 song and something that truly like really impacts your career. And it did for us at the time. You know, we would go out. We were also headlining like these small shows. And you could tell like when we played that song, people would freak out because it was a hit. And I think it was more because they were like, yay, for us. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily, you know, out of that, people weren't, you know, there wasn't a lot of respect factor there. Like you said, like From the Ground Up was the first where people, even in town, was like, okay, I think these guys might be here to stay.
That's when I felt it was getting legitimate for you guys as not just singers but artists.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. It's it was like a again we'll use the word 360. It was like a 360 degree, like everything they're doing is right on. This is it.
Yeah, and I think it's that point where it was the first time we were really, really excited of like we kind of started to hear, even from like the songwriting community, of like, damn, like I wish I would have written that song. It was kind of that moment. Like, I don't think there was very many people. We did with like 19 You and Me. There were some people who would be like, that's my favorite song. Nothing Like You, like our first hit, and Show You Off. People weren't being like, I wish that I would have written that song. There's been times in my career like I wish I'd maybe didn't write that song. You know, it's like I'm thankful for every ounce of everything we've ever gotten to do. But that was kind of the first song, and it was very personal to us too. You know, we had written that about our grandparents, and it was kind of that moment where just like, man, this is crazy. You know, that's when things started really to happen for us.
How not 2 hits. We were talking about Adam Hambrick earlier.
Yeah.
One of the writers of this song.
Yeah.
I would play it because Adam had to come out and fill in when I would do early Raging Idiot stuff. And so I had to learn this song and try to do his background because he would sing it because, if you write a song, you get to sing it.
Absolutely. And he's fantastic, too.
Yeah,
so great.
This song goes number one. Now, most of these are number ones. I'm going to bring up maybe a sore spot for a second.
Yeah.
Because Road Trippin'.
It's a little heart.
Road Trippin' hit number 36.
Yeah.
So, one, did you want to put the song out? Two, did you jump off it early or did it just fizzle out?
We pulled it. We did pull that song because it was, it wasn't that I like hated that song. Like I don't like to play it. Like we don't play it live. It was just kind of one of those moments where it was a tempo. It was something that we felt like we kind of needed, and our fans loved it. It was like in live, it like did really well, and it was kind of that moment where it was the best move I think we could have made in our career. Even still looking back, that was the best move at that time was to pull that song, because that set up what was
next
next
chapter of your freaking career.
Yeah.
When it was like, and you went from being a strong artist to now kaboom time. When Tequila hits, it changes the whole world.
Yeah.
In my mind, your whole world changed.
Everything
I don't know what
changed.
happened in your world.
Everything changed.
But when this song hits, and I remember the lead up to it.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Nicole before it came out, Nicole Gallion.
Yeah.
And this song just shook up everything.
Yeah. It was that moment where I remember whenever like when we were picking the single, that wasn't necessarily like my choice. I remember we brought in, a bunch of people to be like, what should be the next single. And, it was back and forth between a couple songs. We had, Already Ready on our last record, or not on our last record, but the second album. And there was a couple other like contenders for singles. And the problem was, our fans, we had done this, such a grassroots thing that our fans were like buying the album and they were listening to every song. So it was a little bit tough to pick a single because they had already really, kind of taken in that record and were kind of like, they loved the record, but they had kind of heard all these songs. And I don't think that there was any single that we could have put out that would have kind of taken us to the point where, Tequila did. And I don't think that if we would have put Tequila out in a different time that it would have worked in the way that it did. I mean, it still would have been a hit, but the way that all happened, like looking back, of being like, all right, we pulled Road Trippin', and now this is a reset, and we're gonna do this.
It was the first of a new whole project.
It
right?
was, yeah, it was the first of a whole new project, and I remember like we'd had these songs, and we were really excited about them, and we had I think like a few like singles that were contenders for like the first thing that we put out there, and I remember Dan and I were in London. And we had a talk, and I remember like before we cut Tequila, I was such a fan of the song because I wasn't a writer on that. It was Dan and Jordan Reynolds and Nicole Gallion, and I remember hearing that song and I was just like, I want to sing that. I think that'll sound good with us doing that. And it was just that moment where like we were all in, and I remember talking with a label, and Dan and I were like in this little room. We were playing in London, I think, and we were on tour over there. And we had this whole conversation of like, there's a lot of people on the label, like, we can't put out a ballad first. We just can't do this. And I remember we were just having this whole conversation. And I was just like, we're putting this song out. This has to be our first one. Dan and I were so like adamant about it. Like, look, we're taking the reins. This is it. And I just remember like making that decision. And we put out the song, and it was just, the lead up to that. We tried to, we just didn't know what was, that was a kind of a scary time. But at the same time, we were very excited because I feel like out of anything we had done, there's like the songs that we had done, like I was very proud of like From the Ground Up, and even like 19 You and Me there and How Not To. Those were the first times whenever I felt like I could play something for like my friends and then be like, that's sick. I love that. But Tequila was like the moment where everyone was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. Like it felt cool. Like that song alone, like we put that out, it made us like the cool thing to go see in town when that song hit. It changed everything pretty much like overnight. I mean, it was just insane.
I still think that it's the song that I've seen screwed over more for awards than any other song in my history here. And I say that not joking.
Oh, man.
And I know you're going to be like, oh, wow, shucks.
Oh, well, shucks.
But I do think that. I
Yeah.
would even, talking with Dan or Nicole or people that I would be like, I can't believe it. I'll tell you, one time I was presenting the CMA for Duo of the Year, and I love John and TJ from Brothers Osborne. I have a close relationship with them. But in my mind, I was like, this is so damaged. There's not been a duo that's had a bigger year. You had been Speechless, Tequila, you had been touring. I was like, I'm going to read their name, and then they're going to pick me up, and it's going to be a whole. We're going to have like the greatest moment.
This popping champagne moment.
And it wasn't. And I opened up the card it was on ABC, and I said, "In the winner for Duo of the Year," and I saw Brothers Osborne. I called them up, and I thought what they did even then, I think they were shocked.
Yeah,
because they give you guys a shout out up there.
Yeah, which felt like we didn't know what to do. Like, you're doing good. You want us to be down here? Everyone panic. I don't know. I can't smile any bigger right now.
Speaks to their character to do that. But I know that it has to, and I'll speak from personal, and you can say whatever you want. At times, when you're having great success, but no one is giving you the cred from where you're living, it sucks.
Yeah.
And you can say, but I've had that happen to me too. It sucks. It hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, holy mother. Like right now, they're not getting it from home, but when they do, they're going to own home. Yeah. And I wonder how you kind of got through that.
It was, man, I think Dan took it a little bit harder than I did, just inherently because I don't want to say like I don't do anything, but like Dan puts his entire life into this. And I do as well, but obviously now like I have a family. There are other things that really, and that's for him too. Everything's changed. He has a wife, and pretty much a family with his dogs. And there are other things obviously that matter to him. But I think that really, that was just a lot of months going into making this stuff and the build up to this. And when you go and you lose, it just sucks. Like there's never, and it doesn't just suck for us, it sucks for everybody. It's horrible to lose. And it's terrible to get up there. And the whole concept of award shows, now that we've and after that we won like everything. And it was cool, but it was just kind of like, it sucks that a lot of artists, you feel like you live and die by these award shows, and it's just not the truth. It's amazing to be recognized by your peers, but I think that your peers do recognize you in other ways. It just sucks when it's publicly like you lost.
And you had such a monster year like nobody else had.
Yeah.
I think that to me, because the talent is so different and so just it's premier talent. Every duo nominated, premier talent.
Yeah.
But you guys had, statistically speaking, in every count, chart, streams, tickets, there really wasn't something.
Yeah. That was what hurt. I think that's what hurts when you know that like, you don't want to say like we deserve it, but if there is a metric, what is the metric at that point? It's like, because you hope that it's just like whatever the biggest song was or like the biggest thing was, you would hope that would win, which is just not the case, which is, it sucks. If you win, it's great, but like sometimes that happens with artists when it's like they know like that song probably should have won. And every award show is different, where it's, the Grammys is more like a cred thing. It's not necessarily based on like what was the biggest song, which is why we were blown away when we did win a Grammy, because it was like, that song was very commercially successful. So you're like, to win a Grammy for it was like kind of a surprise for us. We had no idea that was going to happen, but I don't know. It does suck, man. Like you're there and they're zoomed in on you and they're just waiting for you to say something.
And they're on a knee looking in your face, Shay, with the camera.
Yeah.
And it is from me to you.
Oh, dude. Closer than that. I mean, it's literally like, it's like a, they're up there and you're trying to smile. And it's just like, it's a weird thing. It's kind of like if you're there and people, they get crap all the time because there's been in the past, like people having a bad reaction, like, what? And they catch that, they're like, we got you, and they play that over and over again. Like, oh man, like Faith Hill. I have no idea if this ever happened to Faith Hill, but like,
did exactly
did it happen to Faith Hill?
Yeah, she was kidding. And
she was just like, what?
Yeah.
And whatever that is, but it sucks because like if someone, turn it around and make it like a lottery. Like there's 3 people in the room and you're going to win $1 million and you put 3 of them, you put a camera on them. What do you think the other 2 are going to do whenever they're like, this person, and like the other 2 are like, no, I put everything I wanted on this. Like this is everything. So it sucks. Like, of course you're going to have a bad reaction, but we all know now, like they'll get you if you're not, bummed out, because it sucks. Like for everyone, it sucks. And it's just kind of, I don't know. And it's hard to see other people like, lose. We kind of saw the other side of that, because every award show after that, we won like everything. And it was just kind of like, this is like, now we're on the other side of this. And it's almost like you're up there. And then you just remember like all these people right now hate us because it sucks, to be on the other side of that. And it's just, I don't know. I think the most important thing, we tried to not, live and die by award shows, because it really is the most important thing to us is to go out and to be able to sell out shows is like the biggest deal to us. Like we want to be able to play to the most people that we can and for our music to get out there, but it definitely for anyone to say like that it doesn't matter, like it matters. Like it definitely matters. And that momentum helps like to win an award show is huge. So it definitely sucks because in your heart, you're almost like it wasn't good enough. But like what you did and what you put all those hours into of not sleeping for 2 years to make this record, it wasn't good enough. And that's what like really hurts of just being like, damn, that's a bummer, you know?
Couple more of these real quick. Speechless hits #1, massive. Wedding song galore. It's the wedding song.
Yeah.
The video, the whole thing was like dialed in.
Yeah.
Like you knew the lane of this song visually, sonically.
Yeah.
Nailed it. All to Myself. Made a lot of love to myself for this song. It's both, so a lot of love. I'm going to ask you about 10,000 Hours. What was the process like to get a song with Justin Bieber? Were you already talking about doing something together eventually? Or did you have the song and Scooter go, look, what was that about?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it all started, I mean, we obviously through Scooter, we had met like some people, like we had met Ed Sheeran through him. We had met Justin through him. We had been to LA a bunch of times and we had met Justin a few times. And we always thought like, man, it'd be so cool to get Justin on a song. Cause it's like, you know, he's one of the biggest pop stars in the world, you know? And it was just like that in our mind was like, of course we want to do a song with him, you know, especially since we have this connection. No one in country has this unique connection that we do, you know, through Scooter. And early on, we wanted to try to, you know, do something with him. We had pitched some things, and I'm really glad that it didn't happen. Whenever, you know, it might have happened like a long time ago, would not have been this. This is kind of the first time we had written this song in Nashville, Jesse, Joe, Dylan, Jordan Reynolds. And it was kind of that point where we had written the song and we're like, this actually might be perfect for Justin. Because in that time, like the timing of everything, of him being, you know, just getting married and all this stuff. And it was the first time that we felt like we were bringing something to the table where it wasn't just like, can we please get Justin Bieber on our song? It was, this would make sense for both of us. This would be, I think, big for both of us. You know, it would make sense. We had like, cause in before it was just kind of like, you know, we were down here and we're like, can we please get Justin on our song? And then at that point, you know, we're out there, like we're about to do arenas. We're a legitimate act. So we can kind of bring something to the table. And you never know what's going to happen. It's not like we were like, okay, this is time and this is for sure going to happen. We didn't know what was going to happen when we sent the song to him.
And
but
you send it to Scooter or do you text Justin?
We had sent it to JB. We had called him. No, we had just sent it to Scooter to see if like it was something that he would like before we just like, you know, sent it over to Justin. And he was like, I think that this makes a lot of sense. And Justin heard it and he loved it and he resonated with it. I think, like we said, in the same way as we thought that he would like it, he liked it. And I just kind of, we couldn't believe it whenever they were like, yeah, this is gonna happen. So for months, like we got his vocal, and they had like changed some things and kind of made it his own, and it was crazy like getting that back. We had to sit on that for months and months.
And
it was
not
on the
telling
song
anyone.
and not telling anybody about it. It was like the hardest thing we've ever done because it was like, you know, I've literally like in my phone I'd had, you know, a song with us and Justin Bieber, and it's like I couldn't even talk about it. It was just like, because if that gets out, you know, that's a big leak. Like maybe if like they found out we're coming out with a new song, like that's probably not gonna. Country songs don't really like leak, but songs with Justin Bieber on them, like that's a, you know, worldwide. There's a lot of people trying to find that kind of stuff. So it was a crazy moment, and it was weird because I just knew I had a feeling that it was gonna be big for us, just because the timing of everything, like the momentum that we had going into this with Tequila, Speechless, and all of myself. It was just that moment of like, they're not gonna see this coming at all, you know. And it was crazy, man.
Before we wrap, I want to play one of my favorite songs of yours. It's called "Your Love" from 2011.
Oh my God! Smack.
It came in at 173 on the Afghanistan charts.
Oh, I was pretty big in Afghanistan. I can't even go there still. It was so big there.
And maybe "City Lights" with Gabby.
Oh yeah. Oh, these were great.
So what was the goal with these early songs?
I was just messing. Honestly, I was actually recording in Fayetteville with this guy named Mike Bailey, who like kind of looks like you, which is pretty funny. You guys look a lot alike, like the whole deal. He's got like wears black glasses, everything. You're like a much better looking version of him. You are,
something like that.
Yeah, he's like the, you know, almost like the poor man's version of that.
Yeah,
you know,
like the junior varsity.
The junior varsity. Yeah. But yeah, I was just doing it for fun. I was like I think I was in high school at that time, just going to Fayetteville, recording songs for fun in this guy's house. and then I just would put them out.
And would you send that off to people though, hoping to get that next level, or were you just putting them out for fun?
No, I was putting them out just like thinking like, every day there are things that go viral. This is probably gonna be it. It didn't work out. It didn't happen like that. But I was having fun. I think I probably made. I literally made like tens of dollars off that stuff.
Good for you.
I still check my CD Baby sometimes.
Dang, what a reference, CD Baby.
Yeah, CD Baby. I had CD Baby.
I checked music on MySpace.
No, I didn't know. I think MySpace had fizzled out a little bit at that time. I think I would put these covers on Facebook though. That's what I did like all through like high school. I would do Facebook videos and YouTube videos. But yeah, I remember I checked that CD Baby account one time because I forgot about it. Because I had this like connected, and I don't think that like the label or anybody like ever knew, like they knew about it, but like they didn't know where like the money was going. And I think I checked my CD Baby account thinking like there could be like some serious change in here, and there was like 37 cents. It was something ridiculous. Literal change. So yeah, go out and check that out. I'm still Shay Mooney Music on YouTube. Go check that out. You're gonna love it.
Your name, James Shay, is it Moon? How do you spell your last name? Your real Moone?
Yeah, Mooney.
It is Ney?
Ney. Yeah, Mooney.
Mooney. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And if you're getting this with a pseudonym.
I don't think so.
All right. Listen, let me do a little plug here for you guys. Not that you need it because you are killing the world. The Arena Tour kicks off March 6th in Nashville with the band Camino and Ingrid Andress, who's a great friend and so good.
Amazing.
So good. All the way through October 31st. And you guys are everywhere. It's hard to get tickets. It's just really great to see. It's good to see people that work really hard crush it because it gives hope to other people who work really hard.
Likewise, man. It's really fun also just to say it is very fun. I think the coolest thing about this town is the people that you do meet, and when you get to see them also, crushing it and having these moments is fun because you're killing it. It just doesn't feel like real life for either one of us. This is wild.
And I think a bit too, we haven't stopped to take it in as real life sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think for you, it's great that you have a kid and a wife because I think there's probably some balance there that you didn't have before.
When I'm home for like 2 weeks, I forget what I do for a living, literally, which is probably not a good thing. But it is just kind of, those are two different worlds. So it's cool to slow down and kind of remember how blessed we are to get to do this, especially with people we love.
Well, dude, I love you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm rooting for you guys. I get nervous for you guys. And that's how you know I really care because I'm like,
Absolutely.
Oh man, I hope this does so good. I hope the Arena Tour sells. I hope so.
Well, one of these days we have to go and we have to play. I don't think they've ever done a concert in like Bud Walton Arena. So we'll just go. We'll go do that together.
We'll go. I'll do stand up and open the show.
Let's go.
And then you guys will play.
I would love it. They're working, by the way. This can be our opener. I'm working on getting a massive amphitheater in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Oh, are you really?
Like for my hometown. Yeah.
Are you in? Like,
yeah.
Look at you.
And I want you to be in on it. Yeah. Have an opportunity to just talk about it.
Let me. Yeah.
We'll just talk about it. It's off air. I have literally 500 million now.
Yeah,
I just found that out, which is pretty exciting.
So we'll end with that question. 500. It says net worth online 500K. It has to be higher, right?
Not after this deal.
Okay. All right. It's going all into the amphitheater. All right. Episode 221, Shay Mooney. Follow him on Instagram at Shay Mooney. Follow at Dan and Shay. And go see them if they're coming around. They really are even better than you think they will be, which is an amazing thing to say about someone who you already think they're going to be great. So, and I mean that with all my heart, not even just saying it. So, all right. Thank you.